This is KATU Channel 2 Portland, saluting the spirit of the Northwest.
Whoever said Christmas is for children never shopped at all.
Glorious four-star days. As long as you own an Explorer, who cares if the weatherman is all wet? Buy it at your local Northwest Ford dealer today.
Sure. Unsure. Sure. Unsure. Sure. Unsure. When dryness really counts, be sure to be dry. Sure Solid has the most effective wetness-fighting ingredient you can buy. For dryness no one can beat. So you're either sure or unsure. Sure. Unsure. Be sure to be dry.
The ship repair business is a highly competitive business, and in order for us to compete, we have to make the right decisions. We may have as many as 1,200 people working here, 7 days a week. And when you start talking about workers' compensation, you start talking about the bottom line. You start talking about costs that impact this company. We shopped the world for workers' compensation insurance. And when it came down to cost and service, we found what we needed right here in Oregon.
On the job. That's safe.
We dare you to compare.
Compare the prices on the latest name brand and designer fashions at Ross and at department stores.
We dare you.
Ross prices are much lower. Compare the prices on the exact same clothing.
We dare you.
Ross prices are much lower. Even compare Ross prices to department store sale prices. Ross prices are much lower every day.
We dare you to compare.
If you're not shopping at Ross, you're paying too much.
Welcome back to our discussion on Measure 1, the proposed sales tax that you'll be voting on this Tuesday. And we're talking about government trust. Has government cut enough fat out of its budget? Some folks might be willing to say, I'll vote for a sales tax, but first government has to prove to me that they are really trying to cut the waste. Bill Sizemore?
Yeah, I'm the author of the initiative that will be on the ballot in '94 called the PERS Initiative. And in that, we demonstrate that using PERS, public employment retirement system, using their own numbers, that if public employees in Oregon put 6% of their salary into the cost of their pension like they do in other states, that it would save taxpayers, according to PERS again, $625 million in the next biennium. And if they were not allowed to roll over their unused sick leave into their pension benefit calculation, it would save taxpayers, according to PERS, $174 million in the next biennium.
Okay, that's one specific.
Okay, that's a specific. Public employee fringe benefits being too extravagant. Okay, too expensive.
You guys, Bill's saying, the opposite side here, Bill's saying, hey, government isn't proving that they're cutting enough waste, sir.
You know, the problem is if he gives me his budget and I give him mine, you give me your budget, and I think you're going to find that some things that you think are really important, I don't. And the same thing that you might do with mine. The problem is while we're working on it together, while we're down in Salem working on the legislature to do what we want to do, these kids can't wait. This is the window to save our kids' education,
so
because they're suffering.
Taxpayers. That's what you penalize taxpayers for the fact that the legislature placed a higher priority on public employees being able to roll over their unused sick leave into their pension.
You want to penalize kids.
You are penalizing the kids.
Let me respond.
Just a second. I want to go to a political scientist who joins us tonight. And Robert Sayre, you have come up with what you think is a correlation between our perception of government when it comes to waste and trust and how people will vote on Measure 1. And what is that exactly?
Well, we asked in a statewide survey how much waste people thought was in state spending, and they can come up with any number they wanted.
Now, we have a chart here, and explain what that means.
That showed that the people who thought there was a high level of waste in government, that's on the left, were very unlikely to vote for Ballot Measure 1. Notice that almost 80% of those vote no.
Now, low waste.
And those who thought there was low waste, notice about 3 times as many people were in favor of Ballot Measure 1, and about a third as many opposed to Ballot Measure 1.
Is that very surprising?
No, it's not surprising, but you don't always find in polls what you expect. And the point of this, I think, is that part of what people are voting on here is not simply the contents of Ballot Measure 1, but the degree they think that there's waste in government and the degree they trust government to do.
Now, trust is the other one. I know you have a chart on trust coming up here, and let's take a look at that right now. Explain the first one.
The one on the left shows that those who have low trust in government, in general, are much less likely to be supportive of Measure 1 because, of course, part of the point is that they think that the government then is not trustworthy to deal with the extra money. On the other side, those who have a high level of trust, there's still quite a percent who say they will not support Measure 1, but the percent who support Measure 1 is almost half among those who have a higher level of trust in government.
Well, those who support a sales tax, there is some truth to what the professor said. If your perception is that they waste money or that you don't have trust, chances are you'll probably say no to a sales tax. Sir?
There's no government body that we have more control over than our schools. In Portland, we have a 7-member citizen board running the school. They hired Jack Beerworth. Last spring, we had a series of public hearings where Jack Beerworth and the board members, we have Lucius Hicks here from the board tonight, sat and listened and asked for input. Where do we cut? Where do we cut? These people weren't there then saying this is where the waste is, this is where the fat is, and look what they cut. We got no new textbooks in Portland this year. We cut 2 days of classes. You laugh? You can't keep up with the world. Cutting 2 days of classes is not cutting waste. That's cutting my kids' education and your kids' education.
His point is well taken. I think what he's saying is be part of the solution. It's often hard. It's very easy sometimes to be a fly in the ointment, Don Mcintire.
Right.
When do you say, hey, I'll be part of the solution and come up with something?
I am being part of the solution. There's no question about it. It's a contest right now, not only in Oregon, at the local level, the state level, but nationally. It's the government class insisting that they're going to do better for all of us and make our lives better. But the main thing is we have to pay more taxes, and we notice that there's a parallel in the improvement of their lives, their pay, their perks, and their pensions at a rate that's far greater than the rest of us.
Jeff, we're not talking about the government class. We're talking about a group of very involved parents and citizens throughout this state that have been involved in the schools, and they know that the schools are taking cuts, real cuts to our children's education, and we are involved with our feedback to our schools and to our state, and we want to send a message that education counts in Oregon. That's what we want to do now.
Karina Brandt with the Executive Club. Cuts. Well, why did 80% of the school districts give themselves a 6% raise? Right. And what about the 16,000 jobs that are going to be cut from Oregon from the loss of retail sales?
Well, let's get back to this issue. Bob Turner, is government doing all it can? You sit down there in Salem. Is government doing all it can to cut budgets?
No, they are not. And that's why, as a legislator...
Hold your applause.
Just honest, as a legislator, it's difficult to be down there and to look at all the information and say government's been cutting. They haven't. In fact, the budget for next year is going up 15%. And Mr. Sizemore is correct. The two areas where we can save $1.3 billion is one, if we actually did, as the governor proposed, eliminate 4,000 positions, that'd save $500 million. If we did require each public employee to pay their fair share of their own retirement, just like they do in 49 other states, that would save us $600 to $800 million. But those cuts aren't happening, and cuts aren't taking place.
He says it's not happening.
Well, it's interesting how when you're away from the session, you can start talking about them, but he's a part of them. Now the point I'd like to make...
And we are both the problem.
Okay.
Well, let me clarify. First of all, two things I think are very important. First of all, there is less dollars being spent in 93, 95 than there was in 91, 93 on programs, including schools, with the exception of the replacement dollars required by Measure 5. Secondly, I would like to also point out that the wonderful idea of the 6% contribution by employees toward PERS, I do not oppose that concept, but let me remind everyone, in 91, as chair of the committee that has revenue as its responsibility, we started taxing retirement pensions. Does anybody remember that? We have been in court. Why? Because it's a breach of contract. When you have a contract with employees and you change the circumstances without going back to the process, we're going to be in court.
Okay.
Do you think they're going to give away the money without a court battle?
Delna is saying that they're trying, that maybe it's moving slow, but they're trying. We have another political professor here, and tell the folks your name.
I'm Russ Dondero, and I teach politics at Pacific University.
Do we expect too much out of government?
Yes, we expect incredibly too much out of government. We also frame the issue. this particular issue and others in a way that really is inappropriate. Because on the one hand, you have people saying, you know, I want to lower my taxes, but I want to keep the same services coming to me that I've always expected of the last 20 or 30 years. On the other hand, we have a state legislator over here, Bob Turner, who just said the government's part of the problem, which means he's part of the problem. Legislators bashing the system, bashing the process. So the way this whole issue is framed is often very destructive of the long-term interests of the state and of the people in the state. You know, educating children is not a process of building widgets. We're talking about a very complex process which requires years of training and expertise. It's a very expensive process. Our government is a very expensive process, but that's what a democratic system is. And if it's not responsive, then you have a vehicle for doing that, getting that response and that accountability with your legislators. Now, if we reframe the issue in terms of efficiency, running government as a business, that's, I think, not a very appropriate way to frame the issue, because government can't be efficient in that sense. You can expect effectiveness, you can expect accountability, but government is tackling all the other things private industry and individuals cannot attack and not deal with. If it couldn't, we wouldn't be here.
Sir, let's talk about practicality.
That's exactly the point. This is not about teaching government a lesson, it's about teaching children. We have cut millions and millions of dollars over the last 2 years in our Portland Public School district. Beaverton has cut. All large districts that are growing have students that are coming in with different needs, many, costing additional dollars that this bill will provide. By the way, this is a partial replacement to Measure 5. It is a response to McIntyre's mess.
There's a lot of us over here on this side who are in favor of funding schools. We're against this because they're taking it out on renters, on small businesses, on senior citizens. We're in favor of funding schools. I'm the author.
But you're saying this one isn't, you're saying it's not fair, this particular measure, in your mind.
The ones who got the benefit are commercial property owners. They're the only ones so far. Why take it out on renters? Why do they have to pay taxes to bail those people's windfall out? Why take it out on small business? Why take it out on senior citizens?
Okay.
The tax is unfair. We can fund schools, but it should be based on ability to pay.
Okay, we got to take a break right here, and when we come back, let's look in the future. What will Oregon be like? We got to pay the light bill. Sorry about that, but what will Oregon be like 5 years from now if Measure 1 passes? What will it be like 5 years from now if it doesn't? Very interesting. We'll look at some predictions when we come back.
Nance, I love your new Grand Am.
Oh, yeah?
It's fun and so sporty. It's you.
Yeah. Airbag, anti-lock brakes, and it was thousands less than a quarter Camry. Plus, with Pontiac's 3-year Smart Drive, it was only $199 a month.
Get out of here.
And it's not a lease. I own it.
$199 a month?
Mm-hmm.
I thought car prices were up.
Not on Grand Am.
See Jim Weston, Willamette, John Lake, Royal Moore, Breslin, Rayleigh and Graham, or Bill Copps.
I can take care of myself in the ring, but in my car, I've got to protect a lot more than just my pretty face. Like George, 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 and George. That's why I trust my brakes to Meineke. They're experts, so I get high quality service at a low price. Heck, with all these Georges, I could use that extra money for food.
Now more than ever, at Meineke, you're not going to pay a lot, but you'll get a lot.
I guarantee it.
Remember when you ate all the eggs you wanted? Well, you don't anymore, so every egg you do eat should be special. Introducing Eggland's Best. Special eggs from specially fed hens. Eggs from hens that eat no animal fat. Eggs that are higher in nutrition than ordinary eggs because they have more vitamin E, an important antioxidant. Now you can make every egg you eat extraordinary. Eggland's Best. Because our hens eat better, you'll eat better.
Remember your mom saying...
Don't put that in your mouth. You don't know where that's been.
Beginning Monday on Channel 2 News at 5, we'll show you where it's been. Germs. They're everywhere. On water fountains, telephones, dollar bills, and bathroom faucets. We'll test the places you touch most often and show you how to stay clean and healthy. Then maybe you'll feel better about sticking things in your mouth. Watch Monday on Channel 2 News at 5.
Tonight, slide on in, but you better watch your back. Go ahead and grab a snack and paddle your way. to an all-new America's Funniest Home Videos. Then it's a hip-hopping and pie-popping good time. Can you dig it? We can dig it. Can y'all dig it? When Will Friedle from Boy Meets World co-hosts an all-new America's Funniest People.
Tonight on KATU Channel 2.
Welcome back. We're discussing the proposed sales tax that you'll vote on this Tuesday. Get out and vote. But let's take our crystal ball and look in the future. And I want to start off with something. What will life in Oregon be like 5 years from now if on Tuesday we decide to enact a sales tax? And let me go to some of those in favor of it. Yes, sir.
My name is Ralph Lidman. I'm the chairman of the State Legislative Committee for AARP. And can I respond just briefly to what the gentleman said?
No, I want to stick to this issue here. What will life in Oregon be like for retired people, since you're familiar with that?
This Measure 1 gives us, on the property tax, it eliminates all the money that's going to go to schools with the exception of the bonds. Now, let me just give you an example. In my case, it'll save me $850.
So you'll be better 5 years from now financially.
It's like another Social Security check. And everybody should know that. Everybody should know that. In addition to that, it would cost me.
Let him respond.
I would have to spend, and I think every retired person ought to think about this. I have to spend about $18,000 on any items that has a tax on it.
So you'll be better off in 5 years in your mind.
And so will every other retired person.
Who else? Who else? Yes, ma'am, you in the back.
Personally, we're going to end up with an economy that's in jeopardy. There have been many letters to the Oregonian lately, letters to the editor.
If Measure 5 passes, where will Oregon be in 5 years?
If it passes, I thought you meant if it failed.
That's
if it passes, we're going to guarantee our economic future. We have got many letters coming to the Oregonian, letters to the editor, one of them from Steven Ziegler from Verdex Corporation, a high-tech corporation in Aloha. He claims that right now he is getting 30% of his job offers refused because these highly educated families are worried about the education system in Oregon and will not move here because they will not put their children in our public schools. We jeopardize our transfer to high technology.
5 years from now, economically we'll be better. Let's go to the other side here. If we say no, and this goes down to defeat, where will we be 5 years from now? Look in your crystal ball.
You betcha. PGE, PP&L, Northwest Power, Northwest Natural Gas, all the big corporations will be laughing on their way to the bank because they stuck over another flat tax, another equal tax. They could pay 5 or 10 times as much as the rest of us, and I am for it. I would like to vote for the schools. I do not believe that the schools should be downsized. Also do not believe that the rest of the society should be downsized.
Where will we be 5 years from now if we say no?
If we say no, then we're going to send the legislature back into session. A special session would be the best thing to do, and have them come up with the next best thing. All we've heard so far is that the whole thing hangs on this sales tax measure, which is patently unfair.
Where are we 5 years from now? 5 years from now, however we vote.
If we don't pass it, we'll all be better off because most of us will have more money in our pocket and we'll spend it and the economy will grow.
Sir, you right up in the back.
If we don't pass this measure, we're going to undercut the very foundation of our economic development, which is a quality public education system. They're too cheap to pay for it now. Some of them, like Mr. Sizemore said publicly a couple weeks ago, that he's going to put his children in the private schools. I don't think they have a commitment to quality public education.
Where will we be 5 years from now? Sir, we haven't heard from you yet.
Ron Paul with...
a business owner here in town.
A business owner, but feeling the moral imperative that as a business owner, I know I need to have employees who've had lifelong learning, not interrupted by a hiatus of any length of time where that trust in their education is violated.
So 5 years from now, Ron?
If we pass the measure and I can count on education, my workforce will be of a much higher quality.
Jeff, I would like...
5 years from now, what do we sell in Oregon to any new business, including a lot of my own clients? We sell an educated workforce. That's the only reason business comes to Oregon. We don't have better transportation, a better tax system. We have the best educated workforce in the country. If you want to know what Oregon is going to look like in 5 years, look at California. From number 4 in schools to number 50 and and businesses are leaving in droves.
Hey, they've got a sales tax, too.
Bob Tiernan.
They got a sales tax, Jay.
Just a second. Bob Tiernan, where will we be in 5 years if we vote no on this?
Well, let me answer both of them.
Okay.
If we vote yes and it passes, we'll be back here in 5 years from now, because it doesn't mean schools are going to get more money. Yes. It's more government for more government spending. Now, if we say no and it goes down, then the legislature is going to be forced with the guns to their head to go back and do the necessary efficiencies and budget cutting to get the schools more money. And they can do that if the people out there make us do that.
Okay, we're running down on time, and we've got, I just have time to get two sides from each, one issue from each side, and I'm going to start with Delna Jones. What would you tell our viewers tonight? Why should they vote yes on Measure 1?
We have been criticized as a legislature in the past for not looking ahead and looking at solving problems before we are in a crisis mode. This is looking to the future. And I will add, let me just give you a couple of statistics. Percent of personal income and taxation is a very big issue to a lot of people. What percent of my income is going to be in taxes? With Measure 1, the tax rate, the tax numbers in terms of 1 through 50 states would be 23rd if we pass Measure 1. Without Measure 1, we will be at 46th. What that says, with full implementation of Measure 5 and no replacement dollars, we will be at the bottom trying to do services and education in this state that are very uncompetitive.
And that's your message to voters out there.
It's important for our future.
Okay, Don McIntyre, I'll let you get the final word for the other side. What would you hope viewers walk away with from Town Hall tonight?
Well, I hope they all turn out to vote. The larger the turnout, the more likely we will defeat Ballot Measure 1. And I think that that is absolutely essential. If Ballot Measure 1 passes, it does not guarantee that our schools have a better source of funding or get a dime more. But it does guarantee for sure that government in Oregon will be bigger. It'll be fatter, it'll be more inefficient, and it absolutely guarantees that there will be job losses on the private side as government pulls money out of a free economy where hardworking men and women work to improve all of our lives and incidentally develop the economy to pay more taxes. We will put ourselves in retrograde. I urge everyone to vote no on one.
Okay, that's our final for arguments. I just want a straw poll right here. Raise your hand, those voting for Ballot Measure 1.
Jeff, it's an educational tax. Why do they tax books?
You don't have a microphone, so hold on. And raise your hand those who will vote against the measure. And you know, you can see it's a very polarizing issue here on Town Hall, and I hope you at home were able to draw out some of the arguments, some of the reactions, and you were able to be a little better educated when you go into that polling booth. I want to leave you with this final thought. The most important thing is that you exercise that right to vote, that right that people fought so hard for. We take it for granted. You don't have a right to complain if you don't go into that polling booth and cast your vote. And that's the thought I want to leave you with. But don't leave, because when we come back on Town Hall, we're going to have viewer reaction and response to one of the hottest town halls we had in years. It happened a few weeks ago, and we'll share a little clip with you and let you know what our viewers thought. Stay with us for that. You won't want to miss it.
Aren't you concerned about the rapists and the murderers?
Go ahead,
Mr. Sparks. Aren't you concerned about the rapists and the murderers? Aren't you concerned about the lies?
Let him respond.
Is he going to let people talk or not?
Yes, let him talk.
Thank you. Relax.
Papa Aldo's Take and Bake Pizza takes on the competition. Toppings? Well, let's compare. We put more toppings on than anybody. Our large pepperoni pizza has almost a pound of 100% real cheese and 70 slices of pepperoni. Hate cold pizza? Well, when their pizza's cold, it's over. Time to put it in the box. While ours is fresh and ready for your oven.
Papa Aldo's Large Perfect Pizza, half pepperoni, half Hawaiian, only $6.99.
Papa Aldo's Pizza. We make it, you bake it. It's fast and always fresh.
When it comes to refinancing your mortgage, it's important to do business with a lender you can depend on. With 115 local offices servicing almost $4 billion in loans, you probably know the Money Store is one of America's leading home equity lenders. But there's more. The Money Store is also the largest guaranteed lender to small businesses, and their student loan company is a leading lender to college students. So call the lender you can depend on. The Money Store. 1-800-LOAN-YES. The Money Store, where America goes for money.
State finals coming up. A lot of pressure to win. I don't eat right, I get irregular, so I don't project a winning attitude, and the boys see that. I tried some natural bulk fiber, but I couldn't take all that grit. Then I discovered smooth texture Metamucil. No grit in the mix or the taste. Easy to get the extra fiber I need every day to stay regular. You got a winning attitude, you win, if you're lucky.
Smooth texture Metamucil, the natural choice for regularity.
Coming up tonight on Channel 2 News at 11, it's one shooting too many in a Northeast Portland neighborhood. At 11, we'll see how neighbors are rallying to make their homes and families safer. We'll show what happens when a cruise ship and a cargo liner collide in the mouth of the Mississippi River. And we'll see why the royal family is in an uproar over some pictures of Lady Di. Palace dwellers are calling for some restrictions on the press. Join us at 11.
Welcome back to Town Hall, and now it's sound-off time, where you, our viewers, let us know what you think of previous Town Hall shows. How many of you watched Town Hall a few weeks ago when we talked about consensual crimes and we had a special guest on, Peter McWilliams? It was a wild time on Town Hall, a lot of hot tempers, a lot of hot words. Take a look at what happened.
Half of your time is spent rounding up people who are doing consensual activities in their own homes. Aren't you concerned about the rapists and the murderers?
Go ahead,
Aren't you concerned about the rapists and the murderers? Aren't you concerned about the lies?
Let him
Is he going to let
respond.
people talk or not?
Yes, let him talk.
Thank you. Relax. Now,
Okay, just a second.
You relax. There's 350,000 people in jail. You people are not doing your job, and I'm not going to relax.
Oh, whew. It was a hot town hall, and we have some viewer mail on it. Jim Elvin of Salem, he wrote us this. He said, it was good of Peter McWilliams to go on Town Hall and show the public what an ill-mannered, disgusting person he is. Now we won't even consider buying his book that he made such a butt of himself trying to promote. He spoiled what could have been a very good show. Jay Almond expressed a view shared by many viewers. You would have had an excellent show, and people could have listened had Mr. McWilliams not been there. I'd have had him evicted. Jay Almond of Sherwood. We got another letter here, and this is from Sandra Bennett. She says, when is the media going to stop aiding and abetting those who advocate drug use and who, in doing so, undermine the efforts of all of us who are working at reducing drug use in this country? Shows like yours are counterproductive and equivalent to collaborating with the enemy. And our final letter here, even people who are for legalization were against their spokesman. I am a libertarian favoring abolition of all laws against consensual crimes. Peter McWilliams, I applaud your courage in taking on the controversial issue of consensual crimes. To succeed, you must engage in the debate with good manners and a willingness to address all popular concerns on the issues. That's from Martin Buchanan of Hillsborough, and I guess it's not only what you say, but how you say it. And you see that on Town Hall every week. I want to thank all of you for showing up, no matter what your views. I'll see you on the news tomorrow and Town Hall next week. Take care, everybody.
Were you shocked by recent jury verdicts? Join Town Hall on location from a courtroom and hear how actual jurors reached their controversial verdicts next week.